everyone to our 50th anniversary. At this point, I'm Alice Knapp, president of the Ferguson Library. I would like to hand it over to Dudley Williams, our MC, past chair of the Ferguson Library. And what's the Zoom meeting if we don't say you're on mute?
Can you hear me now? Great. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this very special day, the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Ferguson Library. We've got a number of distinguished speakers who are going to be participating in the program this morning, and it's my pleasure to introduce our first speaker, the Honorable David Martin, Mayor of the City of Stamford. Mayor Martin has been a great supporter of the Ferguson Library, not only as mayor, but in his over 30 years of public service in the city. So again, it's my honor to introduce Mayor Martin.
I am actually very glad that you're doing, I'm very glad you're doing this 50th anniversary, because I didn't realize that this was the 50th anniversary. And I have a little proclamation to read. Mayors read proclamations, we write proclamations, but in this case, I learned something from the proclamation. And I gotta tell you, I'm proud of what the Ferguson Library does at all of its branches, but it is extremely important. You know, I've said this at the annual fundraising that you do frequently, and I say it again. I think that in our civilization from 10,000 BC to now, the greatest invention of mankind is written language. And there is no greater reflection of the importance of written language than our free public libraries, and the importance of making certain that everybody has a full appreciation of that and a full understanding that is one of the things we need to do to provide for equal opportunity for all. So in any event, let me get this proclamation up. Where would the proclamation be? Where did it go? There it is. Whereas the City of Stamford is proud to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the South End branch of the Ferguson Library. As in 1970, former Stamford Mayor Julius Walensky announced the formation of a new community center in the city's South End, later renamed the community, I'm so excited, later renamed after community activist Latham Wider, to include a collection of books from the Ferguson Library. And whereas with a federal grant of $29,000, the original branch collection was tended by an outreach librarian and offered programs, and where it now provides a full range of programs and services, drawing residents from throughout Stamford who enjoy story times, book discussions, and special events. Now, therefore, I, David Martin, Mayor of this great city of Stamford, hereby proclaim October 3rd, 2020 to be the 50th anniversary Ferguson Library South End Branch Day. And on behalf of the citizens of Stamford, extend our congratulations and sincere appreciation for the contributions of the Ferguson Library community, with best wishes for the future. And Dudley, you know, often in these introductions, everybody says how wonderful the politicians are, and we certainly all appreciate that. I appreciate it. But I did want to say, I really am proud of the fact that I've been able to increase the library funding after the cutbacks that occurred before, and we still have a long way to go. And I think that the library, the Ferguson Library and its main branch, and it's named after Ernie DiMatteo, and certainly the South End branch, you are good stewards of the city's money. We all get a great value from what you do. And so while I'm proud to have helped, the reality is that the library board, the library leadership, and the patrons are the ones that make it happy. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Martin. All of us who care about the library deeply appreciate all you've done to support the Ferguson. Next, I'd like to introduce a member of the Board of Reps, Representative Elise Coleman from District 3. Good morning, Elise.
Good morning. Good morning, residents and politicians in the library. I want to thank you, Ms. Josephine, personally, for allowing me to celebrate this 50th year of the South End Ferguson Library with you. To many of us, you represent our tabernacle. You know your good works and library books would save lives. When I told my family of this event, they all started talking at once. My fondness and one of the sisters said my fondness and earliest memory of the library was our oldest sister bringing her to the library. And the librarian said to my sister, I think she was 4 or 5, she said, as soon as you can write your own name, you can have your own library card. We were allowed 6 books then. There were still places in the United States where brown skinned people were not allowed in the public libraries. But our father raised us, we had models in our family, there were 7 of us. And he said, I'm not sending you to school to learn how to learn. I'm not sending you to school. I'm sending you to school to learn how to think. And with 7 children, we had to do a lot of that for ourselves. So I appreciate the library immensely, what all of us did. Sorry, I wrote it down. I don't remember my first library card, but I did pick up my 50th anniversary card last week, and a good thing too, because my card expired in April of 2020. We knew what day it was of the week by the bookmobile. If little red wagons could tell stories, what grace. No more heavy book bags. As we grew, we shared our books. They became different. Science books, history books, romance novels, and even thrillers. Miss Josephine, we are proud and glad of this South End Red Wagon. You have planted many seeds, and the best part is you invested in us and watched us grow. Nelson Mandela said, it always seems impossible until it's done. In my family, there are teachers and growers and helpers, entrepreneurs, defenders of the public right, Army, Air Force, Navy, Marines, and Coast Guards. One of my sisters holds a doctorate in American literature and another a doctorate in organizational psychology. So I just want to thank you again. Thank you, Ferguson Library, for having an open mind, for allowing all the young children from the middle age to the biggest age to grow and prosper with you. It was truly our blessing to have you here in Stanford. And thank you, the Ferguson Library, for allowing me to share my Ferguson Library travels. And that's all. I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Back to you, Dudley.
Thank you, Elise. We really appreciate that. You appreciate your taking the time to join us this morning. Next, it's my pleasure to introduce our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Tamu Lucero.
So thank you so much for having me here today, and happy anniversary. I am just so excited because I think anyone who hears me speak at any library event knows that I have had a lifelong love affair with libraries. It has been a part of my life since the time I can't remember it not being a part of my life. The fact that you can walk into a building and see books when you look to the left and when you look to the right, and you're allowed to touch them and you're allowed to read them and you're allowed to take them home with you. Nothing's better. I've always told the story that you could, from my childhood home, you could see my elementary school. And my favorite thing to do on Friday mornings when I started in kindergarten is to look out the window and wait until the bookmobile was driving in. And I'd say to my mom and dad, is it time to go to school yet? Is it time to go to school yet? That continued through middle school, where my school was very close to our library. And I would say to my family, I'm going to meet you at the library. Pick me up at the library. I'm not coming home after school. I'll be at the library. Then I moved to Stanford. Well, let me just say, my first job was at a library. Surprise, surprise. In high school, my senior year, my family finally said that I could get a job, and it was at a library. I actually worked in a library all the way through most of my years in college. And when I moved to Stanford, I'm proud to say that I live in walking distance of the South End Library and the downtown Ferguson Library. I actually live around the corner from it. So there's something that really goes well with me in libraries, and mainly because as superintendent of schools, I know it's a place where our students can go and they can be safe and they can read, which is what we're always encouraging people to do. And it doesn't matter if you're a kindergartner or a 12th grader, you can serve all of my students. So thank you so much for all that you do. Miss Josephine, you know how much I adore you, and I adore coming to the South End Library on a regular basis. You have to tell me to keep my voice down because I get so excited when I walk through the door. But thank you for all that you do. I thank you for my 17,000 students that I have in Stanford Public Schools who get to experience you on a regular basis. But happy anniversary, and thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Dr. Lucero. We really appreciate it. Next, I'd like to introduce the new chairman of the Ferguson Library, Anderson Livingston.
To all, today is a very special and exciting day. Today we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the South End branch. Yes, 50 years. I'm Anderson Livingston, Chair of the Board of Trustees of the Ferguson Library, and on behalf of the entire board, I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us today on this 50th anniversary of the South End branch. On this very special day, we honor, we salute, we cherish the wonderful work of the South End branch. Our diverse programs, book clubs, children and adult programs, neighborhood library, a family resource, a cultural meeting place. The South End branch offers help with homework, computer learning, English as a second language, arts, crafts, poetry, and yes, best-selling authors like Jerry Craft joining us today. The South End branch has been and will continue to be a beacon in our community. For many of us, it's a window to the world. So again, welcome, 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 and thank you for your continued support. Congratulations on 50 years.
Thank you, Anderson. Next, we have a video that shows some of the highlights of the 50 years of the South End branch's existence. 50 years is a long time, and there is a lot of history. So please enjoy this video presentation. Well, that was a great video. Thank you. Next, I'd like to turn it back over to the president of the Ferguson Library, Alice Knapp.
I just wanted to make sure that I get to talk about a couple exciting programs around the South End branch. First and foremost, it's very appropriate that in 1970, that small collection of books was underwritten by a Library Services and Technology Act. And I say that because today's program is also underwritten by the Library Services and Technology Act through the Institute of Museum and Library Science and the Connecticut State Library in their Urban Library Grant Division. So thank you to the Connecticut State Library. The Ferguson Library has a digital archives, and the end result of our research on the 50 years research will end up in a digital archive section on the South End branch. So if you have any memories, any memorabilia, please contact us and you'll become part of our Tell Your Story digital archives and a special exhibit on the South End branch. And of course, we've mentioned the library card already, the commemorative library card. You can get that at any branch. I know I was one of the first ones to get one. So with that, I would like to hand it back to Dudley Williams.
Thank you, Alice. Next, I'd like to introduce Sonetta Lee, former Community Services Librarian at the South End branch. Good morning, Sonetta.
Oh, Sonetta, you're on mute. On the way, Sonetta, we'll unmute you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes.
Okay. Again, thank you, Mr. Williams, and welcome to everybody, and hello. It is with heartfelt honor and pride that I congratulate the Ferguson Library South End branch on celebrating 50 years of library service to residents and workers in the South End area. In order to appreciate the value of the branch library, one must recall what was occurring in this country during those years. We were in the midst of the civil rights movement of the 60s, and according to Marie Hurley, the director of the library at that time, urban renewal was taking place in Stamford. Hence, these events inspired the Ferguson Library to establish the South End branch to provide library services for the underserved population, which was primarily African American and Spanish-speaking families in the South End section of Stamford. How did I get involved? Well, a few years after the branch was created in 1970, I joined the Ferguson Library under the tutelage of the President Ernest A. DiMattia Jr. as Community Services Librarian. One of my responsibilities was supervising the South End branch. With Ernie's tremendous support, I eagerly set out to do my job. Initially, circulation of materials was low. When I say low, it was less than 50. Attendance was in the single digits. It was located in one room, which was in the same building it's located now. There was no air conditioning. So for hot summer days, we had to move a big fan around the room. Programs were primarily attended by children in the community with special permission from their parents. After a few years of increasing attendance and circulation of materials, the branch expanded to 2 rooms. Of course, you know I could go on and on about what was happening in the beginning. However, for you to fully understand and appreciate the service to the Stanford community, you must visit it. You will be able to see the tremendous growth and development that has taken place over the years. Today, I join you to celebrate, acknowledge, and congratulate the Ferguson Library on 50 years of fulfilling the need for library services to the Stanford African American and Spanish-speaking communities. And most of all, I applaud and express heartfelt gratitude to Josephine Folger Anderson for dedicating her professional life to successfully leading the branch to this special occasion. Again, congratulations, South End Branch, for 50 years of library services. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Netta. That was terrific. Next, for a generation of Stanford citizens, Ernest DiMattia was the Ferguson Library and vice versa. We could not do a commemoration of the South End branch without thinking of and speaking of Ernie DiMattia. It's our pleasure to have his widow, Susan DiMattia, herself a distinguished librarian, join us this morning. Good morning, Susan.
Good morning, Dudley, and thank you. If I get a little choked up, you'll excuse me. I'm very pleased to join everybody for this celebration of an amazing anniversary for an essential service and facility, particularly for the children of the South End, but for the entire community. The branch represents a bright, attractive, inviting, safe environment to support education, to encourage exploration, to encourage new experiences, and a pursuit of excellence by anybody in the community that wants to take advantage of it. I was particularly touched by Elisa's comments that that it is a place that changes lives, and that puts it all in a nutshell, and that her father sent his many children to the library to learn how to think, which I think we sort of lose sight of sometimes in our hectic lives. But the video history that you just saw includes the jazz and the poetry and the book events and all the topics that have been offered. In addition, I might add, to an awful lot of really nice looking food tables. I hope you noticed all of that. These are all offered to members of the community. But right now, we all know we're experiencing a new world, a frightening world, a disturbing world. And it's an uncertain future. But I really believe the South End branch and the whole Ferguson Library will evolve to identify the new opportunities that need to be part of the service to the community going forward. And some of those services might include virtual learning, addressing the inequities of the digital divide, which is my personal campaign right now, giving support to the creation of strong local businesses, or providing assistance to the local community members who are trying to re-educate and retrain themselves to take advantage of whatever new opportunities are presented. So, as Sonetta said, and everybody else is saying, thank you, Josephine, for what you and your crew have done. And I know you'll continue to do throughout the years. Ernie was very proud of everything representing the South End branch. And in that video, if you saw that wonderful picture of Josephine and Ernie smiling broadly, it told me that there was a lot of respect there and that they were partners in creating all that the South End branch could be. So looking to the future, I know there'll be even more for us to celebrate. Here's to another 50 years of success and strength. Thank you, Josephine, and everybody.
Thank you, Susan. We really appreciate that. And I have to note that Susan herself has been a tireless supporter and advocate for the library, which we really appreciate. We've been talking a lot about the past 50 years, but there's a future, and I'm also happy to note that the South End branch future includes expansion. We're going to be to other improvements, and that is a direct result of the support of the city of Stamford and Mayor Martin. So we, all of us who care about the library, appreciate the city's investment in our resources and in expanding those resources. So thank you, Mayor Martin. Next up, over 50 years, there are a lot of people who have been involved with the South End branch, and they are all over the country. And the next video is shows some of those people who are extending congratulations and well wishes on this 50th anniversary. So enjoy the video.
Hi, I'm Phil McCain. I want to congratulate the library on its 50th anniversary. My partnership with the library goes back when I came to Stamford in 1993 as the CEO of the CTE, which was the Federally Anti-Poverty Agency, and also the management of the community center here in the South End. It was a real pleasure to see and know that there was a library in the community that could serve the needs of the people. So again, I just want to offer my congratulations. Look forward to continually working with the library and hope that we have many, many more anniversaries. Because I made a commitment to Mr. DiMatteo that as long as I had anything to do with it, there would be a library here in the South End. And I'm so pleased that even after my retirement, the city has stayed committed to making sure that we have this library here in the South End. So I thank you very much for this opportunity to offer my voice of congratulations.
My name is Peggy Weiss. I've been coming to South End for 20, 30 years. For many, many years up until this year, I taught English as a second language. I love this library. It's like coming into my second living room. I've always felt it a warm and welcoming place. And I've met wonderful people here. I love the personnel, all the librarians. And it's just been a very happy place to come to. Most of all, our students have loved it. They felt comfortable, they felt informal, they felt welcome. And immediately, they weren't afraid. Maybe in a larger, more formal library, they would have been a little more cautious. But here, they just walk in and be happy. We always started and ended with a hug. And that's how I feel about this library. It's a hug place.
Hi, I'm Evelyn Avolio, Dr. Ev at the library, and I'm here to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the South End branch of the Ferguson Library. I was really, really fortunate that Mrs. Anderson, the supervisor here, gave me a job back in 2000, and I worked with Mrs. Anderson and Emmanuel Duresti for 16 years. I'm a big fan of the library in general, and I'm especially treasure the South End branch, the Ferguson Library. I wish it many, many more years of service to the community. Yay!
Greetings from Colorado. My name is Lori Dolian, and I was born and brought up in Stamford, Connecticut. Lived there for 58 years until I retired to Colorado 11 years ago. I wanted to thank Ms. Anderson for asking me to say a few words for the South End Branch Library's 50 years of service to the community of Stamford. While employed for the Head Start program, I was fortunate to have my office located in the CTE building. I could then partner with the library for classroom visits, staff training, and family literacy programs. My families were very fortunate to have that library in the neighborhood where they lived. After moving to Colorado, I realized that I was fortunate living in Stamford that I had diversity on a day-to-day basis. I'm thankful that the South End branch in Stamford provided this for me for over the years. Wish I could be there in person, or maybe your celebration is virtual, but congratulations again to Ms. Anderson, Emmanuel, and Dr. Ev, and other previous staffs who's made it possible to have this branch for 50 years. Thanks.
Happy 50th birthday to the Ferguson South End Library. So appreciative for all the work that you've done all over these years in servicing our community and creating pathways for our youth. So appreciative of allowing the Girl Scouts of Connecticut troop to be housed at the South End Library for the last 3 years. It has been a great service to the girls that we have been servicing. I'm Antonia Thompson with the Restorative Justice Project, and I wish you 50 more fabulous, healthy years in our community.
Thank you, South End Library, for 50 years of help and support at CLC. Congratulations!
Congratulations! To Mrs. Josephine Anderson and the South End Library branch staff. It is a pleasure for Ableist to have partnered with you for over 20 years with the Playgroup, providing such a great impact on so many toddlers and their families. From helping families to get a library card and learning to use the library, which is by far our community's greatest resource. Also, allowing our families to learn immersion into the American culture and customs while preserving their own identity. We wish you many more years of continued growth and service to the community. Congratulations for a great job and commitment on your 50th. Ableist looks forward to working with you for another 50 years. Thank you.
Greetings, beautiful people of the Ferguson Library South End branch. This is your friend, Donna Thompson Bennett. I miss you. I am sending you happy anniversary love from Bridgeport, Connecticut. Happy 50th. I am extra excited because I get to share in the joy of knowing that I have been a part of our amazing book club at the South End branch for 25 years now. I miss you guys, but know that I am always thinking of you and keeping you in prayerful thoughts. I celebrate not only the South End branch for its 50 years, but the great leadership of our beautiful Josephine Fulcher Anderson. And in your honor, I'm also reading right now, I Love Myself When I'm Laughing, a reader around Zora Neale Hurston. But what's great about this book is it's not a half story, it's a full story, because it's not only I love myself when I'm laughing, but when you flip it and go from the back, I love myself, and then again when I'm looking mean and impressive. So I am celebrating all of you and also sharing the joy of something I'm reading right now, because that is what we are all about. Keep on celebrating, but of course keep on reading, and I hope to see you soon. But in the meantime, again, happy anniversary, happy 50th. You guys look fantastic to be celebrating 50 years. Peace, much love.
Hola, mi nombre es Carla Esquivel. Llevo en esta comunidad hace 14 años, llegué a Stamford. He visto mucho la importancia de la librería en nuestra comunidad. Tenemos mucho apoyo, eventos para niños, para adultos. Los niños pueden venir a hacer su tarea. Es de mucha importancia tener la librería con nosotros. Y me quiero unir a felicitarlos en estos 50 años para que se sigan abriendo más puertas, sigan más oportunidades y nuestra librería pueda crecer más. Felicidades.
Congratulations to the South End Library on celebrating 50 years. I would just like to say thank you for helping me become the man I am today. From when I was a little kid, I used to work for the Ferguson Library under Miss Anderson. She's a great woman. She gave me the tools and resources that I needed to help these other young men become better men. My wish is that they continue doing the great work and have a great success in the future. And thank you so much.
That was a great video. I want to thank everyone for participating. It's quite a retrospective. Josephine Fulcher Anderson has been leading this branch since 1987, and much of what we celebrate here today is a result of her work and her dedication. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Anderson to introduce our keynote speaker. Mrs. Anderson?
Thank you, Mr. Williams. I am just overwhelmed by the love and support that I'm feeling right now and that I've felt throughout the years. I do know that Mr. D is probably looking down smiling right now. So if y'all would just bear with me, I am really grateful and appreciative for this opportunity. Once you learn to read, you will be forever free. Frederick Douglass. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us in celebrating our 50th anniversary. It is indeed my honor and my privilege to introduce our guest speaker for today. I have known him since 1995 and have seen him grow and blossom over the years. His spirit of Kujichagulia, self-determination, taking responsibility for his own future, believing in himself, staying the course, and focus on his passion have helped him to finally be recognized as the great writer he is. He is a kind, sensitive, warm, humble person who is very approachable by all. Our beloved Maya Angelou said that if you are walking down the right path and you're willing to keep walking, eventually you'll make progress. And he has certainly made great progress over the years. Our speaker is an author illustrator. His debut graphic novel, New Kid, has earned 5-star reviews, including one from Booklist magazine that describes it as possibly one of the most important graphic novels of the year. Kirkus Reviews called it an engrossing, humorous, and vitally important graphic novel that should be required reading in every middle school in America. In 2019, New Kid became the first graphic novel to win Kirkus Prize in the Young Readers Literature category. A few months later, it won the 2020 John Newbery Medal for the most outstanding contribution to children's literature. Now, for those who don't know what the John Newbery Medal Award is, just think about the Academy Awards. I mean, that's really up there. It is the first graphic novel in the Newbery's nearly 100-year history to receive the award. And he is only the 5th African-American author to learn this coveted prize. On the same day, New Kid was also awarded the Coretta Scott King Award for outstanding work by an African-American writer. And he is the second person to simultaneously win both awards in the same year. Our speaker is the creator of Mama's Boys, an award-winning syndicated comic strip published from 1995 to 2013, which won the African American Literary Award 5 times. And he is co-founder of the Schomburg Center's annual Black Comic Book Festival. His next book, Class Act, is coming out October 6th. And I encourage you all to please buy it and support our author. His journey reminds me of what the late Toni Morrison said. If there is a book you want to read, but it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. And that's what our speaker did. I present to some and introduce to others my son, my friend, author, illustrator, Mr. Jerry Craft. Please join me in giving him a warm South End welcome. Mr. Craft.
Thank you. You gave me goosebumps. It's going to be hard to live up to that. But thank you, thank you, thank you. I want to start by wishing a happy anniversary to the happy 50th anniversary to the South End branch. And to personally thank you, Ms. Anderson, for all the support that you have given me before reaching all the accolades that I have gotten. You know, it's funny, if anyone had ever told me when I was a kid that one day I would have a personal relationship with a library and actually, you know, wishing a happy anniversary to a library, I would not have believed them. You know, I was a reluctant reader. I basically only read comic books, and even then I just read the parts when they were Spider-Man, not when they were, you know, regular people, the Peter Parker people. I would skip past that to get to the fights mainly. And I look back at that, and I think that I just never had someone like you that would help me find my book. So the books that I came across on my own that featured African-American protagonists were mainly about slavery or civil rights or police brutality, gangs, things like that. And although those are important stories, I wanted to see myself as a regular kid, and I just never really saw those. When I went to junior high school, when teachers saw us reading comic books, they would take them from us and they would say that they were rotting our brains and that they were not real reading. I did get one teacher named Mr. Krupka, who actually did love comic books as much as we did. So that was the first time where I was like, oh, okay, so maybe there is something to this. And I still remember reading specifically Marvel comics of how much it enhanced my vocabulary of words like uncanny and macabre and annihilation and all these different things. And those all came from comic books. So by the time I read my first big boy book in high school that I remember finishing and actually enjoying, because I did not think that I could actually enjoy a 300-page book, that was Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. But I had the vocabulary from reading comic books. I also remember making my own comics. So if I did a book where an archaeologist discovered a magic sword, I had to know what an archaeologist was. I had to know things like artifacts. I had to know how to spell archaeologist. So much like my graphic novel New Kid, I wanted to be an artist. I grew up in Washington Heights in New York City. My parents did not want me to be an artist because they had only ever heard the term starving artist, and they did not want that for me. So they sent me to a school in Riverdale called Fieldston. So that's the same thing that happens to the protagonist, New Kid. He wants to be an artist. He lives in Washington Heights. His parents sent him to a prestigious private school in Riverdale where he's one of the few kids of color. So that's all from my heart. In about 10th grade, I had my biology teacher. I actually talked her into letting me do my term paper as a comic book. And so that was the next thing that actually helped me, where I had people saying, oh, you know what you're doing is pretty good and worth it. I created a comic strip called Mama's Boys because I, again, did not ever see kids who were regular kids. So in Mama's Boys, it was a mom and her 2 teenage sons, and the mom actually owned a bookstore. So it's kind of funny that someone that really was not a reader ends up doing a book about a mom running a bookstore. I tried to get that published, and it just did not fit into publishers' plans because, again, a lot of the books that I saw with kids like myself, there was always a struggle. There was always a sense of misery behind it, and I just wanted to do good family humor. So I had to self-publish. So in 1997, I self-published my first book, which is Mama's Boys as American as Sweet Potato Pie. It's her mom, 2 teenage sons, uncle, and a grandfather. And that was around the time when I had met you. And I remember you seeing the book and reading it and like, wow, this is really pretty cool. You know, so I remember coming by the South End branch and being greeted warmly with a big smile, which was something that I never had in my entire life, really. The library in Washington Heights, although around the corner from my school, was cold and quiet, and you were always afraid to talk, you're afraid to move, you know. So when I came to the South End branch and I see kids and they're reading and they have computers and there's snack time and they're having this deep discussion on books, I was absolutely blown away. In 10 years after that book, in 2007, I self-published my second book, Mama's Boys Homeschooling. And a librarian by the name of Josephine Anderson got several copies of this book and gave it to kids in her book group. And that had the most profound impact. And I don't even think that you know the impact that that had, because with the first Mama's Boys book, even in my mind, I had been taught over the years that any books with Black characters were only for Black kids. You know, I never even conceived that kids of other nationalities would read a story or even want to know about Black kids. And when I came into the book group and saw boys and girls, all different nationalities, reading the book, that really set a light off. I was like, wow, maybe there is some kind of opportunity there. Maybe I can expand. At the same time, I had other authors who could not get published because they wanted to do African-American stories that were just different, started to approach me and ask me if I would help to illustrate and publish their books. So over about a 20-year span, I did about almost 36 books, picture books and, you know, prose novels and all kinds of things. Now, because of the profound impact that you had, when I did my third book, Mama's Boys, The Big Picture, I actually started showing different kinds of characters that I had met through you. And if you will remember, I have a cover blurb on the back cover from 2 of the girls that you introduced me to, who were like, and they knew the book so well. And I was like, wow, these are girls that are reading it, and, you know, not African-American girls. So it was very, very interesting. So then I went from self-publisher to publisher, and you were always warm and embracing, and you shared my my books with the kids. And then in 2014, I turned Mama's Boys into a graphic novel, which was to kind of, you know, get in shape, because now I thought that maybe, just maybe, there was an opportunity for me to share my books with the world. In 2014, I got to illustrate a book called The 0 Degree Zombie Zone for Scholastic. So that was my first really big break of doing a book for Scholastic. And then in 2017, that comes up with New Kid, which, again, loosely based on my life, and also my 2 sons who went to a private school in New Canaan, Connecticut. So this is a 250-page graphic novel which again is mind-boggling because when I was a kid, I never thought I would read a 250-page book. I really never thought that I would ever write a 250-page book. So, you know, it was pretty amazing. So like you said, in January of this year, I got awarded the prestigious Newbery Medal. So I wanted to share that with you. So the first graphic novel in their 98-year history to ever win the top honor, as well as the Coretta Scott King Author Award and the Kirkus Prize. So the first book ever to do that. And joining Bud Not Buddy, when I had my sons, I didn't really know what those stickers meant, you know, but I knew that they meant that it was a good book, but I didn't know it's a Newbery, Coretta Scott King. So when my kids loved Bud Not Buddy, I always started looking for those medals. Again, never did I realize that one day I would actually win those medals. So the companion book comes out Tuesday, Class Act, which follows the 8th grade year of these kids. So in closing, I just really want to thank you for the support and always the kind smile and knowing that whether I was down there to teach kids how to draw or a senior citizens group how to draw, remember how much fun that was. I've always felt, you know, that I just had the support and the love that I needed to make that walk that Toni Morrison talked about and to write the book that I always wanted to have. So I will always remember that. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And again, happy 50th anniversary to the South End branch and to you, Mrs. Ferguson, Mrs. Anderson, Mrs. Ferguson, Mrs. Anderson. Thank you.
Very good, very good.
Mr. Kraft, I was just wondering, we have a question here from Rishad Saleh. What is your favorite book that you've written?
You know, it will probably be, it would have to be New Kid. And what I'm going to do is while I am answering a few questions, I'm actually going to share my screen and you will actually see the main character. So this is Jordan Banks. And I like this because, you know, I tried really hard to make a book that I hadn't really seen before, you know, so there were, again, with African-American characters, but a real family. He's got a mom and a dad and a grandfather, you know, all part of the family, very loving, very supportive. And Jordan has friends also. And, you know, spoiler alert, nobody dies in the book, you know, nothing bad happens. It's really about sort of the experience and some of the microaggressions of day-to-day life of going back and forth between two worlds. His world around Washington Heights with his friends, and then the world going to Riverdale Academy Day School. All right, so this is Jordan. So if there are any other questions, I'd be happy to answer. I can multitask. I've learned how to do that pretty well.
So I just want to mention that as part of our grant, we did receive 300 books to distribute, and they are autographed, and we have a few left. So check out your local branch, especially the South End branch.
Only for Mrs. Anderson would I autograph 300 books. So I autograph every single one of them, and you know, and do a little picture like this in each and every one of them.
Dorothy says you were such an inspiration, but then she asked, where can we purchase the upcoming book?
You know, I'm a big indie fan, indie bookstore. So although you can get it anywhere, but in Connecticut near me, there's Elm Street Books in New Canaan and Barrett Books in Darien, but you can really get it anywhere that they sell books. It's New Kid and Class Act.
Anna asks, do you have any ideas on how I, as a parent, can encourage my 13-year-old reluctant reader to read more?
So, you know, if it seems like a chore, which it definitely did seem like a chore for me, that is very difficult. So I think, one of the best parts about graphic novels is it does have an appeal to reluctant readers. Like, I have parents and teachers come to me with tears in their eyes. It's like the Dr. Phil show, they will come to me with tears and saying that they have a kid in their class who hasn't read a book all year, and they found the copy of New Kid, and they come up and they'll say, "Oh, Mrs. So-and-so, you have to read this tonight so we could talk about it tomorrow." And they're like, "I never seen him do that." So, start with something simple, whether it's a Diary of a Wimpy Kid, or which is, shorter. If it is New Kid, where again, they may see kids like themselves that they may have never seen. But the big thing is not to make it seem like work. Even, there's an audiobook of New Kid where you can buy the book and then download the audiobook, and then he can turn along with it, and that is reading also, because he will go back and read certain things and compare how the audiobook differs a little bit. So any book that a kid will actually read is a good book.
Emma says, Mr. Kraft, please share some words of advice to encourage young writers and authors.
So the biggest thing to me is not being so hard on yourself. So whether you are an author or an illustrator, because what I see when I do workshops is I'll see a kid do one line like that, and immediately it's like, "Oh my goodness, I messed up," and then just start erasing. Everything's boom, 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 right? And then they'll erase, and then before you know it, the paper rips and it's dirty and they're upset. And it's really a matter of having fun. Don't put the pressure on yourself. So some kids put so much pressure on themselves that they never actually finish a story or finish an illustration, because they're always destroying it and going on to something else. So they really don't ever get a chance to finish it and look back and go, "Oh, you know what, this really is pretty good." So, you don't have to emulate anyone. You don't have to copy anyone. You can find what's good for you. And whether it is, a story about your dog, your cat, aliens from outer space, whatever, do something that you like, that you consider fun, because it really should be fun. If you're not having fun, you're missing out on half of the development of doing a really good story. I sometimes, when I was finishing up Class Act, there were times where I looked up and the sun was coming up because I had worked through the night, but I absolutely love to do it.
Lugine asks, why did you become a writer?
Why did I become a writer? It took me a long time to even think of myself as a writer, because I wasn't a reader. So I didn't think that I could be a writer if I wasn't a reader. But I consider myself an artist. But then I needed stuff to draw. So I was like, well, I can't just have something, nothing, just draw pictures. So I ended up writing stories. So I kind of backed into it. I did my art, and I was like, well, I need stories. So I started to come up with stories that I wanted to see. And now I think I love writing as much as drawing, which I never thought anything would even come close. But when I see kids approach me and talk about how they've read New Kid 3 or 4 times and can't wait to the next book, that really encourages me. So I am always working on a next book. So as soon as this one is out, I've already started working on book 3. So
I have this comment, and this is from Liz McKay, Supervisor of Youth Services at the Ferguson Library. We've had such an amazing reaction to the new kid from our kids at the library. As you said early, it has universal appeal to boys, girls, all races, wide age range. We are so excited for Class Act to arrive this week and hope that there will be more books about these characters.
Yes, thank you. So there is actually, like I said, the second book will be out on Tuesday called Class Act. I will then work on a third book, and I don't even know if Ms. Anderson knows, but I have signed a contract with Spring Hill Entertainment, which is a movie company run by LeBron James, and we are developing a new kid movie with Spring Hill and Universal Pictures. So I am looking forward to lots of things because, you know, in my lifetime, when you talk about African-American characters, you know, I had Fat Albert, right? And in 50 years, there really hasn't been anything to replace Fat Albert, you know? And when you see, you know, kids who aren't Black, they have Harry Potter and Percy Jackson and Greg Heffley and Captain Underpants and all these amazing characters, but you really sometimes have to think like, okay, so after Fat Albert, what was there? And why hasn't there really been anything that goes to that upper echelon like those characters? And that has always been my goal. So from the self-publishing to finally now with, you know, the 3 books and, you know, the movies and things like that, that's just really something that I have always wanted to achieve. And, you know, again, Ms. Anderson knows all the times when I came in with my little self-published books and she was, okay, well, let's see what you got. Okay, kids will love it. So I always came back, and that's why I'm here now.
I have just a couple more questions. One's from Smalanda. Thank you for joining us today. I remember reading Mama's Boy at the South End Library and rereading it all through middle school. Similar to how you were a reluctant reader, do you have any advice for reluctant writers who want to develop their craft?
Oh, made me spell that wrong. Well, not you, but N-I-V-E-R. Okay. You know, I'm trying to multitask. So hold on. B-E-R-S-A-R-Y. Okay, there you go. Okay. You know, one of the things that when people ask about things like writer's block, I really don't get writer's block. And the reason is because I'm always, when I'm going out during the day, I'm always paying attention to things around me. And that way, when I get back to my drawing table or my computer, like I never sit down in front of a blank piece of paper or a blank screen, because that's really difficult. Even for me, I'd just be sitting there going, But if you kind of take notes during the day, and if you see something funny, you know, like one time I was at a bus stop and I saw a kid with his pants like really down low and no belt. And I just thought, oh, what would happen if he was running for a bus? You know, and the closer he gets to the bus, the lower his pants go. And right before he gets to the bus, you know, the pants come down, he trips, he's up in the, you know, pencils and books go up in the air, that kind of thing. And so by the time I got home, I knew that, you know, that was the idea of what I wanted to do. And it made it much easier. So when you think about stuff that you know, things that you're familiar with, and then you just kind of take your time to kind of build it, and it's not going to be perfect the first time. You write it, you rewrite it, whatever it takes. And I think that will be much, much easier for you, for any writer or artist.
Finally, I have one comment and then a question.
Okay.
Tracy, you are amazing with an inspiring journey. I so look forward to sharing your inclusive work. And from Rashad, so it's appropriate that we begin and end with her. What did you first want to be before becoming an author?
I never wanted to be anything but a comic book artist. And then an author. Again, like I said, I had to kind of tussle with my parents a little bit because they didn't want me living in their basement until I was 50. So now that I've won the Newbery and all these, I hope to move out of their basement in the next couple of weeks. But, you know, I think that, you know, I've had 9-to-5 jobs, but even those, I worked at King Features, a comic strip syndicate. I worked at Sports Illustrated for Kids, where I interviewed athletes and drew flash animation and things like that. And I worked in advertising. So I've always had like cool jobs where I was able to be creative. And, you know, that's one of the things that I think has really helped me. I've never really had a job that I've been miserable, and I've always loved it. And now it's amazing to see where I go from here.
Mr. Kraft, thank you. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, we are honored to have you here, and wish you all the best. And we're all just grateful, but also very proud. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. My pleasure. Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Next, the South End branch, in terms of leadership, has for years been blessed with a great advisory board. And I wanted to have two members of the South End branch advisory board speak this afternoon. First, Olga Brown Vanderpool. For over 30 years, Olga was director of nursing services for the city of Stamford. But in addition to that, she was a champion, a great champion in terms of education of our young people. And she's been a fervent supporter of the Ferguson Library, and in particular the South End branch. So I'd like to ask Olga Brown Vanderpool to say a few words to us this morning.
Thank you, Dudley.
Good morning.
On behalf of the Ferguson Library staff, especially Josephine Fulcher Anderson and the advisory board, we thank everyone for taking time to participate in this celebration. We wanted to bear witness to the impact of the Ferguson Library South End branch, which is invested in maximizing the potential of each person in this community. Dynamic programs are created to highlight cultures and enhance the development of the residents. A healthy and successful South End must focus on the family. This library caters to all families living in this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. Next, I'd like to introduce John Wooden, a longtime community activist in the South End and co-chair of the South End Branch Advisory Board. Good morning, John.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. I'd just like to say that this is a very special celebration, and congratulations, Mrs. Anderson, and to the Ferguson branch and Ferguson South End branch. Last spring, when we started planning this celebration, we had no way of knowing how COVID-19 would impact the outcome of our plans. We hope we fulfilled our mission. Please continue to use the library, both branches, and most especially come and get, and don't forget to get your limited edition 50th anniversary library card. Thank you so much for participating in this program, and we thank you so much for continuing to support the Ferguson Library 50th anniversary branch. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We're about to close. I just like to say that 50 years is a long time. This area looks very different now than when it did when the branch opened, but the work that goes on here remains the same. I have always been honored to be a trustee of the Ferguson Library, and particularly to be chair, because I care about libraries, and I think it's important that libraries continue to do for other kids what they did for me. Library was a sanctuary and a gateway, and the Ferguson Library continues to serve that purpose for so many people. In many ways, I think the South End branch is probably the brightest jewel in the Ferguson crown. And I say that because what the South End branch lacks in square footage, I think it more than makes up with in passionate dedication and love. So I want to thank everyone today for joining us in celebration of this very special place. Thank you, and continue to support the Ferguson Library. Have a great day.
Thank you, Dudley.
Homework Cafe. It helps the children to do their homework, gives them time to do their homework, and we don't put a lot of stress on their homework, so they have to do it, but they can do it at their leisure. They can do, after they finish, they can color and do other things, and we give them a snack and make some fun.
Mi nombre es Ana. Y está muy bonito este programa, es muy importante porque pues mi niña antes no podía leer mucho y hoy en este programa muy bonito les ha ayudado mucho y han avanzado mucho, es muy importante. Yo soy contenta con este programa.
Moi, c'est Marie-Renée Hippolyte. Moi, j'ai 10 mois depuis l'entrée aux États-Unis. Même j'ai 2 mois depuis fréquenter la librairie Ferguson. Je ne connais rien dans l'ordinateur. Je ne peux ouvrir, je ne peux faire. Eh bien, depuis que je suis dans la librairie, là, staff la librairie, ils m'ont montré comment faire. Même pas un gars, pour envoyer un message. Même quand je vais chercher tout ça, je besoin.